My name is Leah Hurtado, and this is my artist video project of Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh was born on March 30th, 1853 in the Netherlands. His father was a minister and his mother was an artist. At the age of 15, Van Gogh's family started to struggle financially and he was forced to go to work at his uncle's art dealership. It was during this time he fell in love with art. In the fall of 1880, Van Gogh decided to move to Brussels to become an artist even though he had no formal art training. Van Gogh struggled with depression and mental illness and found art helped keep him balanced. His brother Theo helped to support him and watch out for him because he knew he wasn't stable. Van Gogh suffered from violent outbursts and was hospitalized many times. On January 27, 1890, Van Gogh, who was heading out to paint, shot himself in the chest. While the bullet did not initially kill him, he died a few days later in the arms of his brother. He was 37 years old. While Van Gogh was virtually an unknown painter during his lifetime, he is now considered to be one of the greatest painters of all time. There were a few important events that happened during Van Gogh's lifetime. The first was the War of 1870. The war was provoked by Bismarck, a Prussian leader, as part of his plan to unite Germany. Additionally, in 1872, Claude Monet painted his very famous painting called Impression Sunrise. Then the Panic of 1873 occurred. It was an international financial crisis that resulted in economic depression worldwide, and in Europe it lasted for 6 years. Vincent van Gogh belonged to the Post-Impressionism art movement. This movement was essentially the last 2 decades of the 19th century. Post-Impressionism doesn't refer to a single style or technique of art. It's the rejection of Impressionism. Impressionism records nature in terms of light and color, but post-impressionists wanted to be more expressive. They painted with more emotion and more freedom. Post-impressionists wanted to have meaning beyond the surface, stressing their personal views and feelings. During this time, there were still many artists practicing Impressionism, including Claude Monet, who had many famous works. Post-Impressionism emerged as a reaction to Impressionist paintings. Van Gogh, along with French painters Paul Cézanne, Paul Gauguin, and Georges Seurat, definitely pioneered the Post-Impressionism movement. Van Gogh's theory on art seemed especially deep to me. He felt the act of painting could restore balance to his life, and he definitely expressed emotion through art. I turned to some of his quotes that he said that were really impactful to me. The first quote is, "I put my heart and soul into my work, and I may have lost my mind in the process." The second quote is, "I often think the night is more alive and more richly colored than the day." And the third quote is, "If you hear a voice within you saying you cannot paint, by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced." All 3 of these quotes have a profound meaning expressing the importance that art had to Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh was known for his oil on canvas and impassioned brushstrokes. His use of bright and vivid colors pioneered a new direction in oil painting. He did The Potato Eaters in 1885, which was considered to be his first masterpiece. This painting is showing manual laborers eating their sad meal of potatoes and was not considered a success until after his death. 15 Sunflowers in a Vase was done in 1888. Van Gogh used brushstrokes to build up texture in the painting. During this time, there were new pigments invented that made new colors possible for him to use. Self-Portrait with a Bandaged Deer was done in 1889 and shows a self-portrait of Van Gogh after he cut his ear off. This painting was done as he was reflecting on his mental illness. The painting was a way to help him through and deal with his emotional state. To me, this is one of my favorites because it's amazing how he had such insight even though he was suffering so greatly. The bedroom in Arles was done in 1889 and is one of Van Gogh's most well-known images. Van Gogh uses vibrant color and vibrant hues to portray his living quarters. The Starry Night was done in 1889 and is considered Van Gogh's greatest achievement. What was special about this painting is that it was done from memory. The movement in the sky is a reflection of his emotional state. The church at Alvars, done in 1890, was considered to be one of his most well-known images from the last few months of his life. He uses brushstrokes and vivid color to show movement and emotion. Van Gogh used lines and brushstrokes in an amazing way. Curved or straight, depending on the use, they showed such feeling, whether it was calm or aggressive. He also used lines to show great movement and motion in his paintings. Another element he used is color. The oil paintings seem to have such vivid hues, using both warm and cool tones to convey emotion. Additionally, Van Gogh used brush strokes of thick paint to create beautiful texture, using the technique called impasto. Van Gogh used repetition and rhythm in his paintings quite often. For instance, in The Starry Night, there is repetition and pattern of the brushstrokes in the sky. This principle produces motion in the painting and adds to the general flow. While there is a lot going on in some of Van Gogh's paintings, there is also a sense of balance. The balance is asymmetrical in most of his works. There is also contrast in colors that he is using, as well as contrast among the brushstrokes. I believe the most prominent function of Van Gogh's art was self-expression. Van Gogh was a troubled man. Always dealing with his emotional and mental illness, he was often referred to as a madman. I believe he was able to express himself through art, and that was probably the only outlet that he had. The expressive theory, I feel, is the most important one used to critique Van Gogh. While I'm sure he had many formal elements in his paintings, I think people wonder what his creative process was with his painting, given the fact that he was such a complex person. There is so much deep and personal meaning in all of his paintings, and I feel people looking at them can see how sadness, happiness, confusion, and hope were all reflected in his art. I have always been in awe of Vincent van Gogh and appreciate this opportunity to learn more about him. Here is a list of my cited references.